it's interesting to see that a few small things can happen that cause major changes. So let's talk about the major shakeups that are happening at PlayStation. And I'm actually going to be segmenting this video into 3 parts. What's happening with PlayStation Plus shaking up, what's happening with the PlayStation launcher on PC being shaken up a little bit, but also PlayStation leadership. And the reason why I wanted to leave that for last is some people might find that to be the least interesting bit, but I think there's a lot of fascinating theory crafting that can be done as to what the future of PlayStation looks like, and also what this kind of means for PlayStation as a whole. So while that might be the last bit, I think it's probably going to be the more interesting part of the whole video. But with that being said, let's talk about PlayStation Plus. So Sony is actually cutting PS4 games from PlayStation Plus next year. And we can only say the words end of an era for so long. So for someone like myself who's been around the block with PlayStation for quite some time, I remember when when PS Plus was actually originally introduced, and they brought a lot of really cool games. So when I say PlayStation Plus, I'm talking about what we currently look at as the essential tier. So PlayStation Plus was originally, here's a subscription service. Every month you're gonna get, 3 or 4, free games, and ultimately you can redeem them. But the thing is that you can only keep playing them for as long as you're a PS Plus member. That has always been the case. So on PS3, this was great. We got a lot of really good, really fun, high quality games. A lot more high quality than what we've been getting nowadays, at least for the last few years. But, there are some standout, if not highlight months where we do get some extremely good titles. Now, at a point when the PS3, PS4, and Vita were out at the same time, we were actually getting 6 free games a month. 2 PS3, 2 PS4, 2 Vita. But then they dropped the PS3 games, then we get 2 Vita and 2 PS4 games, then they dropped the Vita games and add the PS5 games, so we get 2 PS4, 2 PS5 games. So ultimately, as time has gone on, we've actually been getting less games, but also a lot of those games have tended to be remasters of older games or much cheaper titles that we could have just bought ourselves. And now, especially in the last couple of months, the PS Plus games have been stuff that I personally have already owned. So it's insane to think that they're cutting down on PS4 games completely starting from January 2026 and instead solely focusing on the PS5. Now, is this going to change the number of games that we get in PS Plus? Yes, I think we are going to get only 2 games a month instead of the 3 or 4 that we're currently getting, depending on what kind of month it is. Because I feel like ever since we had that apex of 6 games per month, 2 PS3, 2 Vita, 2 PS4, it's only really gone down in terms of number of games available. Though PS Plus games have never always been everyone's jam, because there's so many different types of games that hit PS Plus that it's usually not the most popular stuff that goes into that specific service. And I want to reiterate, every time I say PS Plus, I'm talking specifically about the essentials games that you get on a monthly basis, similar to games with gold on the Xbox side. So what they said is, as we shift to PS5, PS4 games will no longer be a key benefit and will only be occasionally offered for PS Plus members, PS Plus monthly games, and game catalog, Sony said. This won't affect the monthly titles players already have obtained through games catalog titles. I love how they call it games catalog, because originally it was, I forgot what, it was like PlayStation Plus, something games, anyway. I forgot what the original title was to this long ago, but they say that it will still be available to play until they leave the catalog as part of the monthly refresh. We'll continue to evolve the experience of PlayStation Plus and optimize the benefits you receive, including exclusive discounts, online multiplayer, whatever have you. So yes, that stuff is available for PS Plus members, as though sometimes they do PS Plus discounts, like double discounts, for example. So games would be 30% off for some people, but for PS Plus members, it would be 60% off, but that's only on the PlayStation Store usually, so digital discounts don't really mean a whole lot. And yeah, the PS4 arrived in 2013, PS5 in 2020, so it's clear that they're shifting away and trying to actually move away from the PS4 completely, because I feel like on the PS5's PS Store UI, I think they're actually trying to remove the PlayStation 4 option completely, and you have to go out of your way to find PS4 games, so that if you want to buy PS4 games, you either need to search it on your phone, which slowly I can see them moving the PS4 icon for where all the PS4 games are to just non-existency. There you have to go out of your way in some archaic fashion to find PS4 games in a way to try and coax people into buying a PS5. That's what it feels like from a user experience UI perspective, because user experience is usually there. The UI, the placement of buttons, items, and all of those sorts of things. So the way that they're changing things in the PlayStation Store, both on the PS5 and on the PlayStation Store app, PS app on your phone, it's clear that they're trying to no longer support PS4 moving forward and eventually stop the production of PS4s entirely, even though not long ago was PS4s actually most people were still playing on PS4 rather than PS5, which is crazy to think about. But hopefully we will get more games in the PS Plus games catalog, but unfortunately, yeah, digital is kind of, going to be has already significantly overtaken physical anyways, so hopefully, we'll just have to kind of see how that goes. Moving from that, however, let's talk about the PC launcher or the PlayStation PC launcher. So this is going to be a real fun one to talk about. So there's some new incentives going on for PlayStation games on PC, starting off with the fact that it's probably worth mentioning that PlayStation Network accounts will become optional for titles on PC, and the titles that they're specifying here are The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered, and of course Marvel's Spider-Man 2 for PC. So the idea is that they are going to, or I say they, PlayStation are going to be offering digital goodies if you use the PlayStation PC launcher, which requires a PlayStation account, but if you don't want to use a PlayStation account, that it will become optional for those single player titles that were specified. Will that continue on with games into the future? Buggered if I know. But so far right now, it's only applying to Marvel Spider-Man 2 for PC, Last of Us Part 2 Remastered for PC, which is coming in April 3rd, 2025, God of War Ragnarok, which is already released for PC, and Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered, which is also out on PC. So those will become optional upon the release of Marvel Spider-Man 2, which I think is already out now at this point, I think. So I think it's already become optional to use the PlayStation account for these games. And so let's see, what kind of stuff are we getting in terms of like actual digital goodies? Early unlock suits for the Spider-Man 2099 black suit and the Miles Morales 2099 suit. God of War Ragnarok, you get access to the Armor of the Black Bear set for Kratos at the First Lotus. So it seems like you're getting items earlier than you ordinarily would get them in the game. And so say for example with a Marvel Spider-Man 2, these two suits would unlock later on in the game. I'm not exactly sure how, whereas with God of War Ragnarok, these items are usually available only through a new game plus run, but you can get it on your first run instead. Last of Us Part 2, you get plus 50 points, bonus features, and to unlock your extras, and Jordan's jacket from Intergalactic, the Heretic Prophet, as a skin for Ellie. So the main character from Intergalactic that we saw in that original trailer, that jacket will be a skin for Ellie in the game, which is alright, I guess. And Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered, gain access to Nora Valiant outfit. So these digital goodies are not worth anything, if I'm being completely honest. It's just completely useless and worthless junk. I don't know how this is supposed to incentivize anyone at all. If I was playing on I do play on PlayStation. If I was playing on PC and I was playing a PlayStation game, I would not use a PlayStation account at all, if I'm being completely honest, if this is the stuff that they're offering, because clearly that stuff is just not worth it to use a PlayStation account, all things considered. But because I primarily play on PlayStation, as a result, I do have a PlayStation account, and so I will kind of stick to my platform of choice, which is to remain playing on PlayStation. Whenever they stop making PlayStation consoles, that's when I'll have to move, but whenever that happens, I'll just have to wait and see. Seems to be a lot more likely to happen on the Xbox side. But finally, the last bit of shakeup that we're seeing here is a shakeup in PlayStation leadership. So previously, PlayStation had two CEOs, Hideaki Nishino and Herman Holst. It looks like Herman is just going to be doing the very thing he's been doing as co-CEO. So not even co-CEO. So basically the idea was that Nishino and Holst were supposed to be dual CEOs. They would both be in charge of different things, but they would both serve the same role, being split between just two people. So, Herman Holst is no longer considered a CEO, but he is still doing the same work he was doing when he was CEO. So it's almost like as if some of the responsibilities of the PlayStation CEO has been put in his area of expertise, and Nishino will continue doing his thing while continuing to serve the PlayStation first party side a little bit through Herman Holst. So pretty much it didn't make sense to have two CEOs, so one is going to take up CEO as a whole and the other is just going to continue to keep doing their thing. And this is in the case of Herman Holst. And all of this comes from the fact that Shu did step down from his position in PlayStation, being the guy who kind of runs the indies and stuff. So now Herman Holst will also be, I'm sure, looking at that as a whole. And so yeah, what Holst and Nishino were doing was what Jim Ryan was doing. So Jim Ryan steps down, Nishino and Holst take over, and now Holst is no longer doing the CEO stuff. Instead, he'll continue doing his work like as if nothing ever changed. And just on paper, Nishino is going to be the CEO. And CFO Hiroki Totoki, I think he also gets upped to a new role within Sony as well. Can't remember exactly what it was. But yeah, it was just kind of a very weird explanation as to why there are two CEOs rather than it being a co-CEO kind of thing going on. But basically, my theories are mostly going to be in relation to the fact that this is largely to step back from spending more money on live services, because it's clear that Herman Holtz needs really to focus on the first parties, because they really need some leadership and support, especially when so many games under first party studios have either been cancelled or shut down, and as a result a lot of years, like a few years worth of work, has completely gone down the drain, and many teams now have to go back and restart development. Either that or bring their games over from somewhere else. So I'm talking about stuff like Blue Point's cancelled game. What other games were cancelled? Let's see. So Naughty Dog's Last of Us multiplayer game was cancelled. God of War's live service spin-off that was being developed by Blue Point was also cancelled. The guys at Sony Bend, they were also working on some sort of live service that was cancelled. Way too much money was put into actually purchasing Bungie, because Bungie ended up actually faking some of their numbers in terms of money going through the company in order to get themselves actually purchasable by Sony as a whole. And the fact that Concord, holy crap, I didn't think I'd be talking about this game again, failed miserably as well. Now, in saying that, Sucker Punch is making games like Ghost of Yotei, and it's coming out in 2025, so we are expecting some single-player games to come out, but the major live service shift has completely shattered groups of games that were supposed to release either this year or next year, and as a result, the first-party output is going to be a lot slower this year than anticipated, and when they do finally have games up and running, we'll have to kind of wait and see how those things go. Oh yeah, and there's also Intergalactic, their Heretic Prophet. How could I forget? Definitely not interested in this game. At least so far from what I've seen, it doesn't seem like anything worth writing home about in any way. We'll just have to kind of wait and see how things go. But yeah, So I think that there has been a massive shift, and as far as lack of games coming out and potential loss of revenue due to many of these cancellations, I think that a lot of the blame is going to be put on Hiroki Totoki, because he was acting CEO at the time prior to Jim Ryan starting up, but also between the time in which Jim Ryan stepped down and the co-CEOs Nishino and Holst stepped into that role. We did see Hiroki Totoki, who's the CFO, step into that position, but I feel like a lot of people are going to be blaming Hiroki Totoki on a lot of the decisions made, because he has been a connecting tissue between these bits and pieces of PlayStation CEO leadership. So I think it's just kind of interesting to see how that's going to go. So I feel like he's going to be blamed for everything. A lot of games have been cancelled, so we're not going to be seeing a lot of first-party, games released for quite some time, all things considered. And yeah, I think this shakeup was absolutely necessary in order to kind of get things rolling properly. But with all that being said, however, let me know what you guys think about all of this happening in the comments below. Though I've talked about a lot of things in this video, whether it be about PlayStation Plus, whether it be about the PC launcher, the PlayStation PC launcher, changing things around and making things either optional or asking you to do things rather than forcing you to. But again, who knows what the future looks like as far as that's concerned. And the fact that when it comes to PlayStation leadership, they really needed to change things in order to make sure that the support and leadership is there for the first-party studios that are no longer releasing games in a timely fashion because of a lot happening with the first-party slate of live services not being all that successful. And unfortunately, whether we like it or not, it seems like Fair Games and I was going to say Concord, Fair Games and what was this? What were the Disney devs working on? Marathon, yes. And Marathon seem like they're still coming out anyways. We'll just have to kind of wait and see how all of that goes. But with all that being said, let me know what you guys think about all of this. Again, like I said, in the comments below. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel. I'm aiming for 500 subs by the end of the year. And with all that being said, I do upload every day, so I'll see you guys tomorrow.